for listening here to Friday Live this week. The final concert of the season for Lincoln Symphony Orchestra is tomorrow evening. That's taking place at the Lead Center for Performing Arts. Music director Ed Polachek will lead 3 pieces, including 2 by LSO composer in residence Elena Ruhr. One of those is a newly commissioned violin concerto written for the orchestra and concertmaster Anton Miller. And this morning, I have Anton Miller, Elena Ruhr, and Ed Polachek all joining me here right now. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to be here.
This is going to be a fun, exciting grand finale to the season here. Wrapping up with Beethoven's Symphony No. 3, named Eroica. We're going backwards here. Before that, the Violin Concerto No. 3, Elena Ruhr, and then the Broadway Boogie Woogie. Elena, let's start with Broadway Boogie Woogie, inspired by and named for a Mondrian painting, yes?
Yes.
How did that become the inspiration?
Oh, it's a story. I mean, I saw the painting when I was a kid and in a museum, and I said, this is so cool. Someday, I was like in college or whatever, I'm going to write a piece of music called Broadway Boogie Woogie. And the painting itself is inspired by jazz, stuff like that. So it's very musical and
colorful.
Yeah, it's very cool little painting. And then my dad, who was not a Broadway player, but a boogie woogie player, and loved to play jazz and stuff like that, passed, and I wanted to write something in his honor. So Broadway Boogie Woogie was written actually for a different ensemble, and we're going to hear it on Saturday, though, with a slightly different ensemble. It was originally written for strings where there's only one person on a part, but this is going to be with the full orchestra. So it's a bigger, fuller experience.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
More boogie.
More boogie.
And more boogie.
And more boogie.
Yeah.
I was wondering how we hear the boogie woogie in this, and I was also wondering how you tie it to elements of the Mondrian, because seeing it, it's very geometric, the painting that is, I should clarify, right?
Yeah.
Although it is brightly colored. So I'm wondering
Right.
what elements you hear, like, are there things you tie together?
Well, I think that it's an intricate little puzzle of different little themes and things like that. And so the painting has, a block of yellow, or maybe 3 blocks of yellow and 5 blocks of blue and 4 blocks of red, whatever. And those different blocks are kind of like the blocks that I use to sort of put together the music. And the color is the orchestra, which is it just bounces around amongst the orchestra and stuff like that. So
I love seeing the descriptor hijinks and hilarity.
Yeah.
So the bouncing around is in that. Well, Anton, we got to make time here for this brand new violin concerto. I would love your description of it and how it has been learning this brand new piece.
I love it. My description is that it sort of has everything in it. Elena and I were talking a lot about it. We discussed it even before she started writing it. And all the way through the process, we were having conversations. So it really feels like it's very personal. And there's just so much fun stuff in it. It sort of runs the gamut. It's got really bright, fun tunes, and then it has things that are just incredibly melancholy and just gorgeous and beautiful. And then I think it ends with a bang. So I've had a great time practicing it. I love to practice anyway, as you know. But this has been really fun because it's got she put all kinds of stuff in it for me. So and I think the audience is going to love it. I think it's just great.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the kind of behind the scenes when you say that you had lots of discussions. What are you discussing? How does that contribute to the piece?
Elena, you want to do that?
I'll start. The whole piece. Well, the first thing that we talked about was that I wanted to write the cadenza first. Right. So the cadenza is the moment when the whole orchestra stops and the soloist plays by themselves. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do that first. But then, before I could write the cadenza, Anton was on the phone in Iceland, and he was waiting for a bank to get back to him. And he was on call waiting, and they were playing this cheesy call waiting music, and he was kind of dancing around.
I mean, what else am I going to do? I'm waiting for to talk to somebody, and there's just this music going on, and I put it on speaker.
Yeah, and you said,
so I'm like, listen to this.
Listen to this. You should write something like this. And so I said,
I made the mistake of saying, you should write something like this. And she's like, ooh.
Be careful what you ask for.
I was going to say, were you joking
joking about that when you said that? Half joking.
I was sort of like, this it's not good, but it's actually fun, kind of fun music, and I want fun music.
And if you take that the thing that makes it so fun, whether it's the rhythm or the very simple and very accessible melody, then why not? And that's exactly what you did, Elena. I mean, it's a brilliant piece of music, and I can't imagine anybody else in the world being able to play it except Anton, because it fits him like a glove. And we've all heard the genius of his playing over the years. It's just incredible. Who else can match that? So, but we do feel that this is a piece of music that probably is going to become like the Tchaikovsky concerto did, or a lot of the standard repertoire concerti.
I think it will.
Years from now, and into posterity.
There we go. We got it. We're improvising here.
Prosperity would also be nice.
That would also be
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be one of the iconic standard repertoire pieces for violin and orchestra.
How do you feel about that, Elena?
Oh, your lips to God's ears. I'll take it.
How did you approach then the orchestral part? How do you play with the orchestra talking to or accompanying the violin?
Yeah, there are many different ways of doing that, and it kind of goes back and forth. But there's certain points where Anton goes dee da da da, and then the orchestra goes dee da da da. So it's a
real conversation,
a call and response, and sometimes the orchestra has the melody, and Anton is playing like an obligato sort of thing over the top, and I don't know. It's very much. I always think of concertos as a story about a character that is maybe interacting with the environment, or the world around them, or maybe interacting with other people. So I think of the orchestra as sort of the group, and then this character is sort of involved. And in your case, you're the performer,
right?
And the orchestra is the audience,
right,
in kind of a weird way,
right.
Like responding,
like
responding to what they're hearing.
And the orchestra has tons of stuff to do too, so it's really nice because it's sometimes you get
it's
a
not
concerto.
Just accompaniment.
Sometimes you get a concerto and it's oompa oompa, and the orchestra has nothing to do, and everybody's doing stuff, and everybody has melodic lines and things that sort of weave in and out with the solo part. So I feel like I'm actually really interacting with everybody in the orchestra, which is really nice.
That's really fun.
Might I say also that the first movement, the third movement, bouncy, lively, kind of embody the personality of Anton when
I'm not depressed.
When you're not. But the second movement is so incredibly beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
It takes you off into the netherworld. I know that there's not going to be a dry eye in the house after that one.
Oh.
I mean, it is so. It just goes to your heart, and everybody's involved with it too. The entire orchestra with Anton. It's an incredible piece of music.
Yeah,
I love this. I love the idea of giving the audience as well who are attending something specific to listen for or to watch for.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's another moment we could point up.
Well, talking about the second movement, it really is a journey. To me, the way that I feel playing it and hearing it is that it starts with kind of questioning and wondering, and then it becomes more complicated, and then it becomes very melancholy, and then you go through this whole process, and then towards the very end there's this lightness that comes up, this hope, and and then finally the theme comes back, the main theme that's melancholy, but after having that hope, it gives you a totally different feel.
It's more of a reminiscence than a kind of a sadness. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful journey.
That's awesome. Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked, of course, about your pieces, Elena. We need
Is there another
give
composer on this?
just a little bit of attention to Mr. Ludwig van Beethoven here with the Heroic Symphony. Two pieces by the very composer sitting with us. So how did you decide then, Ed, to pair Beethoven with Elena's work?
Well, there are a number of reasons for that, but I think we all know that Beethoven being so iconic and such an incredibly important figure within the history of music, and this particular piece, the Eroica, most historians look at as a turning point in the classical period. It's a very classically motivated symphony, but it does point to the opening of the door into the Romantic period. And so, he has that kind of rebel and responsibility on his shoulders to create something that people were not really ready for. And I look at Elena and in her compositions very much the same way. When we had developed the challenge to, on every program that we can, introduce a new piece of music of a living composer, woman composer, composer of color, etc., and then in choosing Elena as our composer in residence, one of the things that's always like a standard in my mind is, will this music be heard 50 years, 100 years, 200 years down the road? And I was going to say I'm convinced, but I know that Elena's music is going to fit into that category.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's very special. And I thought, it was like a no-brainer comparing Beethoven with Ruhr.
I love that.
Nice company to be in.
I'm telling you what, Elena, it's a good morning here.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the state of Lincoln Symphony Orchestra is strong, and wrapping up your season on a strong note here. Very much so. I've been talking here with violin soloist for this concert and concertmaster of Lincoln Symphony Orchestra, Anton Miller, music director Ed Polachek, and LSO's composer in residence, Elena Ruhr. There is also a pre-concert chat available online. You can link to more information about that and about the concert on the Friday Live page, which, as always, is at nebraskapublicmedia.org. Elena, Ed, and Anton, thank you so much. Great discussion.
Thanks for having us, Jennifer.
Have a fantastic concert.
Thank you.
Guaranteed.
Thank you.
And stay with Friday.